Rational Method Composer is a tool for authoring processes. It's Eclipse-based, so it can be shell-shared with other Eclipse tools such as Rational Team Concert. To author with RMC, we need to be in the authoring perspective, but you can see the other perspectives here, Jazz Administration and Work Items. Those come from Rational Team Concert. With Eclipse set to the authoring perspective, I can see the library view. This is where we create plugins and other method content. We also see a drop down here for configurations. A configuration is a selection of plugins or a filter on the library so that you can see the relevant content for a particular type of project. In order to see what is actually filtered out by the configuration, you can look at the configuration view and you can browse the information here to see what information is actually in the configuration. So that's a basic overview of this workbench. In this demo, we're going to create a simple plugin that includes the elements needed to create a project vision. So we're going to start by creating a plugin to hold the elements. New, method plugin, and we'll call it requirements. One other thing you need is you need to have a content package to contain your elements as well as a plugin. And this just lets you organize your content elements when you have lots of them. So now that I have a plugin with a package inside it, I can create things like an artifact. An artifact is a concrete work product that you would produce as part of a task. And so in this case, we're going to create a project vision. And we're going to create a role that's going to be responsible for that vision. And we'll call this role, the system analyst. And we'll create a task define project vision, which will be the task that actually produces the project vision. So one of the first things that RMC lets you do is it lets you establish all the correct relationships between these kinds of elements. So for example, I can go to the roles for my task and I can add the system analyst as the performing role. I can also go to the work products tab and I can say that the output work product is the project vision. I can add some steps. So I can say the first thing I need to do is interview stakeholders. And I can add another step such as capture stakeholder needs, and so on and so forth. One of the things that's nice about Rational Method Composer is it comes with a built-in rich text editor. So as I type information, for example, I want to say the system analyst does ... I can bold things. I can do various styles. If I misspell something, for example, I might say analyzes. I can run the spell checker. And it will make the corrections for me. But not only that, I can drag and drop elements from the library view or the configuration view, and it'll automatically put in the correct hyperlinks. So I don't need to type the word system analyst. I can just drag and drop. Analyzes the, and I could pull in a work product, and so on. So we have quite a powerful rich text editor built into Rational Method Composer. At any point, I can preview what I'm doing so that I can see what it's going to look like in the published website. It includes the performing role, the output work product. It starts to show my steps that I've added, as well as the rich text that I add with the various hyperlinks. Not only can you author your own content with RMC, but you can also extend existing content. For example, the extensive practice library that we include with Rational Method Composer. So as an example, Let's suppose I want to extend the requirements plugin that I just created. I can go to File, New, Method Plugin. Only now I'm going to select Create a Contributing Plugin. I select the plugin that I created earlier, and it prompts me to say, well, what kind of elements do you want to extend? And I'm going to just leave for the default with all of them selected. I'm going to name this requirements-ABC because this is going to be the ABC company's extension to the famous IBM requirements practice. In addition, all the elements that it creates I'm going to qualify with ABC so that I can distinguish them from the originals. And what you can see in this new plugin is that for every element I had in the old plugin, there is a new one in this plugin. I've got a new system analyst, a new defined project vision, and a new work product called project vision. If I look at any one of these elements, it has a relationship at the bottom here which says contributes, and it's got a contributes relationship to the original system analyst. And now any information that I add to this element will be appended to the original. So, for example, I can go to the Define Project Vision ABC contributing task, and I can add a new step. And perhaps we do a review requirements step. And maybe we do that not at the beginning, but perhaps we do it second to last. So I can add other information. For example, perhaps I have a template that is specific to my company. So I can go to New, Template, and I'll call this is a template for my project vision. And I'm going to associate it to the project vision work product by going to the Guidance tab and adding project vision template. I could also add a new guideline. I can say new guideline, defining vision at company ABC. And similarly, I could go to the tasks, define project vision, go to the guidance tab, and I can add the new guideline that I created. Now, even though I've created these two plugins, I haven't told anyone which plugins I want to look at in terms of the configuration that I'm going to be publishing. So if I want to look at these two together and have them effectively merge, I need to create a configuration. So I go to the configuration here and I say create a new method configuration. I'll also call this one requirements. And in the plugin and package selection tab, what I will do is I will select those two plugins, requirements and requirements ABC. If I now set this configuration as the active one, there it is. Then when I start browsing in this browsing perspective and I look at things, I will only see those elements that are in that configuration. So I see the one task, define project vision. If I switch now to the browsing perspective, and I click on this, so I can actually view what this task will look like with all the combinations of the configuration. So for example, I can now see the original relationships in the first time I created the task, the system analyst role and the output project vision. But I also see this new inserted step that I added, and I see the guideline that I added in the company ABC contributing plugin. Now this is just one example of the various relationships that you can use to extend existing material. You can do replacements, you can do partial replacements, you can extend elements in a way that inherits from a base element. So there's quite a lot of capability to take existing material in RMC and create your own variations of it. I'm now going to demonstrate creating a simple process using the method content elements we created in the previous section. The type of process I'm going to create is called a capability pattern, and that just means it's a reusable piece of process, that it isn't a complete end-to-end process. The delivery processes tend to be complete end-to-end process that might be executed by a project. So the capability pattern I'm going to create is just going to be a requirements definition capability pattern. The Work Breakdown Structure tab is where I can define how the requirements definition is composed. So I can create an activity here for gather initial stakeholder feedback. I can create another child here for define the vision, and so on and so forth. You can also create process with diagrams. So I can open an activity diagram for the capability pattern or any activity in the breakdown structure. It will automatically populate it with the elements that I've put in the breakdown structure so far. At this point, I can now create some diagrams and dependencies. So I can, for example, indicate that gathering initial stakeholder feedback happens before defining the vision. I can also do things like add fork nodes and join nodes, make decisions, and so forth. What I can also do is I can add new elements to the breakdown structure right from the diagram. So I could add a review, the vision, and I can add that into my relationships. And when I exit the diagram, you will notice that the new things that I added in the diagram also appear in the breakdown structure. Now, in order to populate this with the elements that we defined earlier, I can simply drag and drop tasks into the breakdown structure. So I can drop a task like define the project vision right into this particular element. I can also drag and drop from the configuration view. So I can grab this define project vision, and I can also add that one to the work breakdown structure. I can look at the team allocation tab to see what kinds of roles are involved in this particular breakdown structure. So I can see the information filtered by role to see that the system analyst is the one involved here. Or I can look at the work product usage perspective, and I can see, okay, it's producing the project vision. So this lets me filter my breakdown structure information by role, by work product, give me a consolidated view, or I can just look at the tasks and activities. RMC maintains multiple views of the same process, so you can work in the view you're most interested in, and no matter which process view you work in, the other process views are automatically updated. I can right-click on any part of the work breakdown structure, and I can export all the elements underneath it to a work item template for use in Rational Team Concert, and I can also export to other tools like Microsoft Project.